So we were talking about 120, say, in a crew. Say 20 were left behind for doing this work. So we got 100 then, 50 on one ship and 50 on another, roughly. You know. So when the first one came along, so the first 50 jumped them. And then, of course, being a PO, I couldn't go in the front. I had to be in the back. So I think I was the last to jump. And by that time, the ship was corvette alongside us and started drifting away. And as I said there, that's the biggest bloody jump I've ever done in my life. So I landed on there all right.
One of the first major incidents I remember was going into a monastery and finding one of the priests in his study, and he'd been hung and beaten and tortured. I watched the woman and her two little kids with water containers. They shot the little boy, and the mother went back, and then she got shot and fell on him, and then the little girl came running back, and they shot her too. There was nobody that was sacred there or safe from the hatred, the racial hatred that was there. They killed women and children. They killed each other.
Looking around outside, everywhere in Rangoon was, and other places in Burma were these tribesmen that they called dacoits, and the dacoits were just bandits. They robbed and pillaged and murdered, and they were nasty people. And one night, I'm lying in my bed inside my mosquito net, and I woke up for some reason, lying on my back, and looked up at a head that would pushed itself against the mosquito net, so it bulged, and I immediately thought about dacoits stealing everything. So, and I didn't know what the heck to do because I was cozily in bed. So I just, with my left hand, swung it round and punched him in the head, and he fell off whatever the pole or whatever it was he was climbing up to get at us, and then I made enough noise that everybody woke up and went on guard against the dacoits, and we never saw anything more of them after that.
And suddenly we see a Moto King, which is like a motorcycle with a pickup truck, and there's this old man was just driving very rapidly towards the vehicle convoy. And it looked like he had some weight in the back of the cart, so we thought immediately suicide bomber, right? And my sergeant started yelling and indicating, and waving for him to stop, and I got into position to shoot him. And that's always very tough because you have to make a decision, obviously, before the vehicle reaches you, because by the time it reaches you, it's too late. But anyway, I basically drew an imaginary line in the sand and thought to myself, if he gets beyond that point, I'm going to shoot him. And then, right before he got to that point, he just slowed down immediately, almost like he realized what was happening. And a kid stood up in the back of the pickup portion of the motorbike. So that was startling. And then an IED blew up right behind me.
But in France, we're going in to relieve the Germans, get them back into where they were. And the colonel and the major were hidden in the woods over here. But they spotted a German officer taking his pistol out of the holster where we could see it and putting it in the front of his pants where we couldn't see it. And of course they'd do that, and then if I got close, they'd do away with me. But the major called me and told me, and he said, be prepared. So I went in, and he gave up his gun and everything, and I took him prisoner, and we started to walk back, and we had walked 30 yards or so. What I didn't see was a machine gunner hidden in the woods over here, and he opened fire and caught me in this leg. I was taken prisoner then.
We're standing on the bridge, talking with the homeowner, the landowner, because his compound and house, for tactical reasons, is going to be demolished. He was in the process of showing me his deed. I was taking pictures of the deed and of him. Take a picture of him, take a picture of the deed. Oh, I need to get one more of the deed. And off to my left, which I guess would have been to the west, I heard two AK-47 short bursts of AK-47 fire. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Didn't know what to do immediately. It startled me. Then I realized, oh right, yeah, this is what we did in training. Take cover, take a fire position, prepare to return fire. Kind of jumped down behind the bridge in kind of low ground where the river was. Meanwhile, the force protection are kind of moving around a little bit to our west, trying to get a better picture of where the guy is. The Afghan National Army put a couple of guys up on the rooftop, and there was one shot, then a bunch of yelling in Pashto, from which my interpreter said, oh, it sounds like they got the guy.